Hello people, welcome to the Jaby KOAY channel. My name is Johnny Rome and I'm here today reviewing LAKSHYA, a 2004 film directed by Farhan Akhtar. Now, I'm sure many of you guys already know what this movie is. It's a war movie, it's a character-driven piece. It's incredible is what it is on the surface. So this film stars, and I apologize if I mispronounce any names, Hrithik, Roshan, and Preity Zinta. Roshan plays Karan, who was born into wealth, not working, living with no purpose. Karan was born without ever having to lift a finger. He was kind of spoiled by his parents, even though his dad and him don't have a good relationship. Ultimately, it leads him to a point where he doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. Everyone around him already does, which is such an interesting and relatable trait for that character to follow. And it was really easy to relate to the character in that way. And that's something you're gonna hear me say a lot throughout this review, is how much I related to that character. And then starring opposite him is Zinta, portraying Romy or Romila, Karan's love interest. She's just a great character. I mean, she's very driven, she's free-spirited, and that's really awesome to see in having a love interest character be as ferocious and firm with the decisions she's making. And Zinta does an incredible job with it. Man, I don't know, I could go on and on. There's a lot of aspects to this movie I'm really interested to talk about. This was something that was talked about back in the Tarzan Mean Par review when we compared maybe what an American coming-of-age movie would be like compared to Tarzan Mean Par, which is the holy gem of coming-of-age movies for me at the moment. But this movie has a 3-hour runtime, which isn't something that's typical in American cinema, even for war films. It uses that runtime to its advantage. I mean, the filmmakers know that they want Karan to be as well-rounded a character as possible, to really get you on his side and really get you to follow him and care about him more so than some American war movies I've seen. I'm not naming any in particular, but Dunkirk. One thing that was interesting that this movie did was it begins in the present day, in terms of just the present time of the film, if that makes any sense. And then about 20 minutes in, it cuts to a flashback, where most war films or most American-made war films would go to that flashback and have it be just a quick little thing. You get a little bit of information, then it comes back to the present day, then it goes back in for a little bit, and then it comes back to present day. This film didn't do that, and I have so much respect for it for not doing that. What it does is it goes into a flashback where at this point in the film, we already have that question of, okay, well, what happened between Karan and Romy? What happened? What was the falling out there? But you're not really thinking about much else. It takes you into this flashback where you see Karan as a bum. Just a bum. He's uncertain, he's ungrateful, he's nice, that's a point that they make, he's incredibly nice, but he just doesn't know where he wants to go, and we see how that really hinders him and how that hinders his image in the eyes of his mom and dad, where he has a great musical number that he sings about that uncertainty, and we'll touch more on that later. But because we spend the next hour and a half with this flashback and seeing where this character started, we're given so many new questions when we jump back to that present day at the beginning of the film. We got more of an understanding of why Romy and Karan had their falling out, but then also we introduced the parent dynamic to it, how Karan's dad perceives him, what he thinks of him, and which again, relatability for so many people, I'm sure. We also get more of that purpose, just watching the character, but then also watching the character go through the military academy, run away from the military academy, get dumped by Romy, and then go back to the military academy, because we're so rooting for this character to find objective in his life and actually and truly follow that objective that he set for himself in joining the Indian Army. You just want the character to succeed, and it makes for those training montage moments. It just makes them all the more worth it. So going back to the music, that's probably one of my favorite things about being introduced to these movies, is how well integrated the musical aspects are into the plot of the film, where most musicals I've seen and most musicals I'm a fan of, they'll focus on a specific moment or a specific feeling. That's fine and dandy, but what this film did, especially with its musical sequences, it pushed the characters forward, it pushed the story forward, it gave us more depth to the characters that maybe we didn't understand without that inner context, and it does so in an entertaining, just an enjoyable way. The vibrant dance moves, the beautiful music, I love the love song between Romy and Karan, the one where Karan is like, oh, you remind me, like, what do you want me to tell you? You want me to tell you that you remind me of the moon? And she's like, no, the moon has blemishes. Why would you ever compare me to the moon? Ah! It is a very cute love song, and I was just jamming out. I was vibing to it. I loved it. But the army song, the one where they're advancing to the mountain and they're singing shoulder to shoulder, stride by stride, that song was just, I don't know, that one knocked me on my butt a little bit. I wasn't expecting them to all start singing, but when they did, it wasn't just in Mulan, for example, like the original Mulan, when the army soldiers are singing, they're singing about the women they want to go back to and their ideal wife. But this is like a song that is, oh, I have honor for my country. There's a little bit of fear in there. It really capitalizes on the emotions of the characters and some of that relatability that I think some of us have, even if we haven't personally had experience in the military or the army. It humanizes the characters in a way that just, I don't know, is unique and enjoyable, and the song is just catchy as heck. And just while we're on the topic of like some of the technical aspects of the film, the cinematography is fantastic. And I guess this is in editing too, but I love that the shots were able to linger. They weren't too eager to cut into a close-up when it wasn't needed. It allowed it to feel a lot bigger in scope, and when it needed to, a lot more personal for the characters. So great job, cinematographers, editors, location scouts. The architecture in this film is insane. So all the technical aspects of directing, fantastic. And I just wanted to throw that in there because I feel like the next few minutes are gonna be me just raving about the characters and about certain sequences. Hopefully you're prepared for that, and hopefully that's what you're staying for. So some of my favorite moments of the film, first off, the cliff climbing sequence. I wanted to make a point of looking up the behind the scenes. If any of you guys know of the behind the scenes or anything, please share them with us because I really want to know how they did the cliff climbing sequence, because that looked amazing. I felt tension because of the height, but the skill involved in them just climbing and scaling up that mountain, and then you also feel tension because you're like, oh, I don't want them to get caught. That sequence was incredible. That was a breathtaking sequence, and I would love to know how they filmed that, and honestly how they filmed other aspects of this film. On the point of that, the war sequences are incredible, hands down. I had no doubts going into it that the war sequences were going to be top notch, and I was not disappointed. And of course, the reason it matters so much is because the characters are so good. The characters, you just love them. You want them to be okay in the end. You just want everyone to be, fine. You want them to hoist the Indian flag, and it's fine, it's fine. Some specific character moments that I really liked. I love the conversation early on between Romy and Karan, where Karan asks why she fell in love with him, because, you know, Romy is this driven person and Karan is a bum. And Romy says it's because you respect people, you're kind to people, and I respect you for that. It's love out of respect, and I think that's such a cool thing to just have her say, because she could have been like, oh, I love how dorky you are, I love how uncertain you are, I need some of that in my life, but it was purely out of respect, and that allowed it to come back even harder later in the film after he runs away from the military academy and she sees him and she says, I don't have respect for you. The one time you came up with a dream, an objective, all on your own, for yourself, not for anyone else, you gave up on it. I have lost respect for you. And that crushed me, because I have had those exact same conversations with people, because I'm a big person on it coming down to respect when it comes to some of my interpersonal relationships and friendships. When she said that, I went, I've had this conversation with people. I've also been the person that people have said that to. So just that moment really hit hard for me. And then of course she said she doesn't want to meet him. And then Karan is frustrated because, or she gets engaged. Look, I know what you're trying to do, Karan. I know you call her, you're like, I'm a lieutenant now. She's like, good, let's meet. And you're like, no, I'm gonna meet on my terms now, B. Boom. Karan, why? You could have been. I guess without that story point, the plot wouldn't have continued as it did, and Karan wouldn't have grown further, and I guess I can't fault it there. It's just, I was a little frustrated because I want Karan and Romy to hug and love each other and just be happy with each other. That's all I ask for in these movies, guys. I do want to talk about some of the deeper analysis that I caught in this film. I may be wrong, this is just what I picked up. But there's a lot of themes explored in this film. You know, obviously the theme of growing into your own person, choosing for yourself, following objectives no matter what. I think there's this underlying theme that's just telling you have to have the strength to move on, I think. Hear me out. So yes, that can be seen in just the army aspect of it. You have to have the strength to continue forward, even, you know, your comrades die and whatnot. You have to have the strength to keep going. You have to have the strength to keep fighting. I thought that was a great exchange between Karan and I don't know if it was his commanding officer or the general or who it was, but Karan asked, why do we go to war? Why do wars exist? His commanding officer responds with this big dump of wisdom, saying like, well, God created the earth, but man's greed divided it, how countries and continents formed because of that greed, and then just ending it off with that beautiful couple lines of, if the moon were on Earth right now, we would tear it to bits. What an observation about humanity, the purpose of wars. I thought that was an incredibly intelligent exchange. Relates back to that theme of just having the strength to pick yourself up, move on from the past, move on from what happened that may have negatively formed you or may have given you selfish tendencies or something. Move on from all that, pick yourself up and soldier on, because there's something better out there. There's something better than greed, and there's something better than petty selfishness when you tell the person that you don't want to meet them because that's what they said. Yo, come on, Karan. And then just underscored the day before, the soldiers are all upset and they're sad, they're mourning the death of their comrades, but then the next day, one of them's gonna have a kid, it's all happy. It's moving on to become a better version of yourself. It's understanding that you have the capability to move on and become stronger. The more you recognize that you're not stuck in one place, you're only stuck in one place if you refuse to pick yourself up and push yourself forward. Once you understand that you have to move on, the growth that comes out of that is just something beautiful. And I think that's something that this film was touching on, for me in particular. I may be completely out of the box, but that was just my observation of it. I think that's a beautiful theme, and it's a beautiful story to encapsulate that theme in. Look, I can go on and on and on and on and on about how awesome an experience this was for me watching this film and getting to experience this film. I absolutely love these movie recommendations and getting to experience all these movies, so keep them coming. I want to see as many as I can. But I will end the review here just saying LAKSHYA is incredible. I had a great time watching it, I had a great time reviewing it, I had a great time being here talking to you guys about it. I'm excited to watch it again when I get around to watching it again, and yeah, just recognize when moving on is important. Grow into the beautiful people I know you can be. Well, thanks for hanging out. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you can get notifications for whenever we upload any reactions, short films, reviews, all that fun stuff. You want to stay notified, and it would help out the channel a lot. My name's Johnny Rome. Thank you so much. Peace out.